Hello, my name is Christian Swenson. I do videos here on YouTube about autism, autistic consciousness, and life on the autism spectrum. And as you can see, a few things have changed. Probably not the best thing to do on an autism channel, to change things, but nevertheless I have. I've removed the crooked degrees. As you can see here, if I turn it a bit, this is my, the poster for my play, the box that I did a few years ago, the play about autism. This is a painting by a man named Richard Dad, who I wrote a paper on that I presented at a conference. Richard Dad killed his dad. I should tell you about that at some time. A really interesting story about schizophrenia and Egyptian gods. It's actually really, and the Pope. And the first insanity plea. You can kind of piece together the story from those clues. And you can see here, I've had these for a bit. This is Emanuel Swedenborg. This is the crocodile from Peter Pan, who was a stuffed animal I loved as a kid, and this is Hermes. I've also put the monitors a ways up so I don't have to do this, kind of have the nerd neck. I can do this and stand up straight with my shoulders back, so to speak. But if you saw yesterday's video, I uploaded my presentation from AutCon, and we unfortunately didn't have the foresight to put the phone not next to the projector. And projectors, even though they make light, they also make sound. So there's a lot of background humming, and that might not be great. So I thought for this video I would recreate a part of that presentation, maybe to do other parts later. As you can see here, I'm going to focus on a very particular part of that presentation, the tendency some, even many autistic people have to turn the lights on and off. That's backwards. On and off. Off and on. See, I have this little light thing here that you can't see, but I can. But this is something that my autistic cousin did. He would be obsessed with light switches and ceiling fans, actually. I had another slide about ceiling fans. But what I was doing in my presentation was looking at different autistic memoirs, and these are two passages I found that are remarkably similar in their structure and the metaphors they use. And I wanted to point it out to you, what I noticed. So we can see here, this is from Donna Williams' autobiography, Nobody Nowhere, excuse me, and I'll just read it to you. One of the ways of making things seem to slow down was to blink, or to turn the lights on and off really fast. If you blinked, I can't do it, if you blinked really fast, people behaved like in old frame-by-frame movies. You got the effect of strobe lights, close your eyes if you're photosensitive, so something like that, right? Without control being taken out of your hands. So that's Donna Williams, and moving on to Tito Rito Mukhopadhyay, who wrote the book, How Can I Talk If My Lips Don't Move? The light bulbs were the best appliances to react to switches. They made the room bright and dark moment to moment. As I did my work with the switches, it gave me a feeling of great triumph, as if I was holding the reins, like horse reins, of those bright and dark moments in my hands. And those moments comforted me by their predictability. Now, I pointed out by the color coding some of the similarities here. They both turn the lights on and off really quickly, that's obvious, but here's something really remarkable. They both use the metaphor, the image of power being in your hands. The hands! Of course, when you're turning the light switches on and off, that's literally what you're doing. You have something in your hands, and it happens to be the power to the light switches. Like if I do this, right? I've got the power to, if I set a little light here, in my hands. But there's something deeper there. Oftentimes, I have, one of the jobs I do is I work at a box office at my family's theater. I don't make very much, but I do it to help support the family. And oftentimes when I'm in the box office, it's a Saturday morning, my coworker and I will just forget to turn the lights on. There's light coming in through the window so we can see, but when the afternoon worker comes in, they turn it on, and I'm like, oh, let there be light. You know, that's what I say often, and I'm really referencing something that it's a joke, but I think there's a deep metaphor there. You know, he talks about how when he's turning the lights on and off, he has power. He's like God. You know, it's like the person who has the remote when you're watching Netflix, or has the dial when you're listening to the radio. You know, you're in control. You have the power. You have the power. You know, that thing, right? And there's something deep about that, to be the mediator, like God in the Bible, between light and darkness, to separate the light from the darkness. And in fact, what this is all about is it's about separation, right? She likes the fact that the frames, like in old silent movies, are distinct from each other. Separation, like the light and the dark. And Tito likes the fact that the moments, another word for frames, in his language, are separate from each other. They like the discreteness of those moments, those frames. And discrete not in the sense of sneaking, but in the sense of not continuous, if you know anything about math, like discrete mathematics versus continuous mathematics. Discrete is like this, you know, distinct levels. Continuous has every point in the middle. But the autistic mind, I would wager, works best with discrete things. It works best with things that are separated and distinct. You know, like you've got food on your plate in each different part. You got the furniture in its right place. And we love, or we tend to love, that separation out. Separating, like God, the light from the darkness. You know, there's another parallel to the Bible there too, right? He calls it, what does he call it? He calls it his work. You know, so God says, I worked on the 6th day and I rested on the 7th day, right? There's something deep there, like some Jungian archetype or something. And I think there's a comfort we can get as autistic people in ordering chaos. There's a comfort we can get in making cosmos out of chaos, making organization out of disorganization, making sense out of nonsense, making consistency out of inconsistency, right? And that's what this is doing, right? Because when the lights are on and someone else is in control, it's like, oh, there's all these different types of things, and it's like all these different shades. We turn the lights on and off. It's like, oh, the contrast between the light and the darkness. The light and the darkness helps you see better, helps you orient better, helps you become illuminated. Oh, that helps you become illuminated. There you go. There's the gesture there. But I think this is really profound. I really do. To stand between the light and the darkness, to kind of shift from one side to the other, helps us see. It's not unlike how many autistic people I've read about, they love and they can't live without using captions in online videos. It's something about the difference between sight and sound. They don't link in the same way that they do for a neurotypical. There is a chaos in sound and a chaos in sight, but they're not the same chaos and they're not the same order, and they blur together in bad ways. I don't know if I can explain that very well. The other thing is, at least according to some autistic people, there is a connection between autism and light itself. I didn't quote it here, it's in the presentation, but Naoki Higashida, the guy who wrote The Reason I Jump, the autistic book that was translated by David Mitchell, the guy who wrote Cloud Atlas, he says, in one of the quotes from his book, he says that autistic people connect with the light. We feel like we love being rained upon by the light particles, and we feel almost as if we become more ourselves in the light. Like a plant, maybe. Like we feel like ourself is outside ourself, and it comes with the light. At least that's what he says. I don't know if you agree. But I find this very, like I said, very profound. the moments, the frames, ordered and separate and discrete, ETE, so that in the gaps between light and dark, we can organize chaos and make sense out of nonsense. So there you go. I'll probably do another video this week. I'll talk to you later. Take care.